Welcome to Elevated Voices, where we explore leadership as a way of being. I am Dr. Amin Sanaia, and I am joined by the entire cast of Elevated Voices. Professor Santana.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Glad to be here once again, bringing some of our knowledge, drop it down 100%, not 80%, but we're going to give you 100% of ourselves today, and give you some of that elevated knowledge that will take you to the next level.
All right. Tat.
Dropping the 80%. I love that. No, Dr. or Professor Santana is absolutely correct. We're going to give you our absolute best because that's how we roll. And maybe during this conversation, we'll kind of talk to you about what that 80% thing means. But we are super, super excited that you've joined us and hope that you enjoy it as much as we enjoy making it.
Awesome. And TT.
How's it going? This is Tanner. I don't know, man. 80% sounds nice, I mean, sounds comfortable, right? Maybe 80% is where my level's at right now. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. So glad to be here. Let's have a great conversation, guys.
All right. Well, today we're talking about something that is redefining leadership in real time, the courage to be human. For a long time, leadership was associated with certainty, right? Having control. I need to have control. And having all the answers, which is not real. But today's environment is a little bit different. People are looking for direction. They want to feel that they're part of something bigger. They're looking for that connection. They want leaders to be present and leaders who are willing to show up with honesty and our title of the day, humanity. In this episode, we'll explore why authentic leadership is a personal trait and the future of leadership, and how having the courage to be human creates that environment that will strengthen your team and elevate your impact as a leader. All right, so kicking it off, we're going to start with this question. Why do you think leadership is shifting from authority and control toward authenticity and connection?
So I've got so much to say on this, and I'll try not to take too long on this. A couple of things. First, one of the things that really came to mind while you were speaking, Dr. Amin, is that Adam Grant. If you haven't read the book Atomic Habits by Adam Grant, one of the best books that anyone can read,
Hmm.
and I subscribe to his newsletter, which is, I mean, it's a free newsletter and would love for everyone to subscribe to it. He says the most value for the least amount of time. It's the 321 newsletter. It takes less than 5 minutes to read. And one of the things he just recently wrote on there was one of the things that he hears from people a lot is that everybody is looking for purpose. What is the greater purpose in their life, right?
Yes.
But the challenge is your life is a composition, is comprised of hundreds of thousands of days. So the better question is, how can I find purpose in today? And I think that's the question that leaders should be asking also. How do I find purpose in today? How do I find purpose in this week? How do I find purpose in this month? That the small steps of finding the purpose in today lead up to the greater purpose of our lives. The next thing that I want to talk about is two different leaders. One is Rene Redzepi. Rene Redzepi was the head chef of a restaurant called Noma. Recently, there was a bombshell article of massive abuse in his restaurant. Him bullying people, assaulting people, abusing his staff. And when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, Noma. Noma seems like such a chill restaurant, even though it's a three Michelin star, was the best restaurant in the world for a number of years. But then I start thinking about the environment of restaurants, right? And the restaurants that I grew up in and the stories that you hear about restaurants and the understanding that to compete at a very, very high level requires a different level of focus. Now, I'm not in any way excusing his abuse, but
Yeah.
we as a society have glorified that type of abuse in a certain way. And an example that I will use is Hell's Kitchen, right? We turn in every week to watch Gordon Ramsay call people donkeys and shove food in their face and throw plates against the wall, and that's okay, right? We made him famous because of it. But yet Renee is doing this in his restaurant, which is wrong. It's wrong for Gordon Ramsay to do it on television. It's
Mhm.
wrong for Renee to do it in his restaurant. And he has now had to step down from anything having to do with his restaurant, as he should, because those are toxic work environments,
Yeah.
right? But that's the way that leadership used to be. That's the way that
Yeah.
leadership still is in some places. I see it in my workplace where it is authoritarian, top down. I'm in control. You are the ant that builds my farm, right? A third example that I will use is one that, as a Christian, we consider to be one of the greatest leaders of all time. I've been reading through the Bible chronologically this year. I try to read the Bible every year, but this year I'm specifically reading through it chronologically. And I was having a conversation with my oldest son about David.
Ooh.
And, we all think of David in terms of being the great king of Israel, right? We think of him as being the boy who was chosen by God. We think of him as being the one who is after God's own heart. We think of him as the giant slayer. But what really hit me this year as I was reading through the book of Samuel and I was reading about David was how composed David had to be in the years in between. And I'll explain that real quick. So, they estimate that Daniel was about 15 when he was anointed as God's chosen one by Samuel the prophet. So Samuel goes to him. He's a shepherd boy. All of his brothers are bigger and stronger and better looking and more renowned than him, right? And yet Samuel says, "No, you're the one that God chose. Here's this oil. You're going to be the next king of Israel." So then, he doesn't become king right away. He ends up, going back to the shepherd's field, and then he goes to visit his brothers on the war front where they're fighting the Philistines, and the big giant Goliath is coming out and taunting the Israelis. And so he says, you know what, I'm going to go out and fight this guy. I say he was still about 15, 16 when this happened, right? So he goes out, he kills Goliath with a sling. Everybody knows that story or is familiar with that story. David didn't become king of Israel until he was almost 40 years old. So between 15 and 40, the guy who was the king, Saul, took David into his house, said, "Hey, you're going to be great," and then realized, "Oh my gosh, I've lost favor with God. This guy is going to be king."
Mhm.
And then tries to kill him for
Yep.
like the next 25 years.
Yep.
How much resolve and strength and questioning and wrestling does it take to go through that time and say to yourself, "I thought I was the chosen one. God told me I was anointed.
Mhm.
I'm the one who killed the giant. I'm the one who killed tens of thousands, but Saul's only killed thousands. But I'm also the one who's hiding in the wilderness. I'm also the one who's in the enemy's kingdom, pretending like I'm crazy. I'm also the one who is, hiding in caves." Right? Great leaders don't rely on, "Hey, I'm chosen," or "Hey, it's my purpose." They rely on, "I know that I am doing the right thing for the right reason," right? As Ted Lasso says, doing the right thing will never be the wrong thing,
Yep.
right? We all know the right way to lead. We all know the right way to be authentic. It's not pretending to be something that we're not. It is building upon what is my purpose for today. If I want to be a great leader, what do the great leaders that I've seen examples of do? How do I incorporate that into what I am doing today? How does that translate to my people who I am trying to lead? And how does it make them better leaders? And if you think about your purpose of today and your purpose of this week and your purpose of this month, you will build great authentic habits. You will build great authentic leadership. You will build great authentic reputation. You will build great authentic character, because the conversation that I had with my son about King David wasn't about being anointed and wasn't about being king. It was about being authentic. It was about being of good character. How, when life doesn't turn out the way that you expect it to, when your job doesn't turn out the way that you expect it to, when somebody only gives 80%, how then do you take that and make yourself of good character and of good authenticity? All right, that's it.
Well, that's today's episode. Thank you very much.
Never let Tanner go first, I guess.
No, that was awesome.
Yep.
And what I heard out of all of that was you're going to grow by being present. You're going to grow by learning from the hardships, the mistakes, and all of the things that happen to you throughout your time in whatever season that you're in. And as long as you're willing to learn from those lessons and take from them what was good, what was bad, what could be better, then yeah, you're definitely going to be somebody who grows. But shifting from authoritarian and controlling to you know, connection and authenticity, it's a natural evolution. And I honestly, I'm not entirely sure that it's a major shift, because I think that there's been leaders around for a long time that have led with that type of example. And unfortunately, I haven't worked for too many of them, but well, not not historically. Recently, yes. So, but I think it's a necessity that we have to have just as human beings, because we're not going to be able to connect with one another unless we can do so on a human level. And the courage to be human, what we're talking about in this episode, is like Dr. Amin said, the courage to admit that you are not the one with all the answers. You don't have all the answers. You are not the be all to everything, and you're definitely not going to be the smartest person in the room, but you're going to surround yourself with those people and be content to know that they all have expertise that you may not. And if you all work together and you value their input as much as you may value your own, then yeah, they're going to follow you.
Well, I think that has to be, for some leaders, it's going to be tough because they won't be able to shift. And I think in one of our original episodes, when I joined Dr. Main, I talked about this snowflakes generation, right? What I went through coming up in the industry, the way I was treated, which was normal, like Tanner said, throwing the plates, you know, so I mean that was normal, and we handle it. Uh, this new generation now won't be able to come up with a leadership like that. If leaders don't start shifting and start, like we say, leading with kindness, what they're going to get is they're going to get a team that is not going to be productive, and they're going to walk away and find something else. This new generation, they're not lifer, right? They won't stay in a company for too long if they're not happy. They will go into the next thing. And unfortunately, to make them happy is, they need to feel welcome. And this generation is a tough one. It's a tough one. And my fear is that this new generation, as they've been called, the snowflake, that's the next generation of leaders. So what kind of leaders are we going to have in our future? When we get ready to retire and go, what are we going to leave behind? What's the legacy that we're going to leave behind, and what kind of leaders are we going to leave behind? Right? Because as a leader, you need to have a little bit, like we said, you need some tough love. Right? You can have, kindness won't get you there, but tough love will get you to the finish line. And sometimes you need to put that hammer down and be a little strong, So, my fear is that, this next generation of leaders might not be quite there yet.
I think it also takes a blend of the type of leadership that we were raised with.
Yeah.
To your point, Juan, I was raised in kitchens where they threw plates, where you were screamed at, and I think about this Rene Redzepi example because what kind of kitchens did he come up in? If that's the only leadership style that monsters create monsters.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like bad leaders create bad leaders.
And
There
hurt
is
people.
hurt people, but healing people heal people. It's finding that balance of that tough love while also growing them. I was just training two leaders this past week. One was actually my new boss, and the other one was somebody that's going to be a traveling chef. And neither one of them are really super familiar with kind of the traveling, being in different operations, coaching type of environment. And one of the things that I told them, neither one of them had heard of a SWOT analysis. And these are older. One was older, one was younger. But I said, in every operation that you go to, the company that I work for has 29 different operations. Every operation you go to is going to have something that they're doing really good, and you're going to have something that they're struggling with. And so when you're coaching your teams, when you get out there, coach them with that SWOT analysis mindset. What are their strengths? Highlight their strengths. Let them know what they're doing well. Because to your point, Juan, this generation, they need to know that they're doing something right. They need to know that what they're doing makes a difference. They thrive on that. Then you're going to have your opportunity, your weaknesses, right? Your weaknesses generate your opportunities. And so I was telling these two leaders that as you talk to them about their strengths, also talk to them about their weaknesses and give them an action plan of what the opportunities are to improve those weaknesses so that when you come back, you can say, hey, this is what you were doing really well. This is what you need to improve on. Show me. Show off. Show off what you are doing, how you've made changes to that. Give them some tools if they need the tools, but give them the opportunity to grow. Because, to your point, there's a quote, and I can't remember who it is, so I'm going to paraphrase it right now. But strong men create strong times. Strong times create weak men. Weak men create strong time. Weak men create weak times.
Yep.
Again, paraphrasing. I don't know exactly how that quote
And it's
goes,
a,
but it's
it's a cycle. It's a
it's
cycle.
it's a cycle. Exactly, exactly. When you look at the people that came out of Depression era America, they were tough because they had to be tough,
Mhm.
and then boom, we were hit with World War II, and so again, we were tough because we had to be tough, and then we kind of, laid off a little bit in the 60s and 70s, and then boom, we got tough again in the 80s, and we're seeing those cycles again in each one of those generations thinks that the generation coming in behind them is struggling for different ways. Like I'm Generation X. And so we're kind of the withdrawing, not going to be a part of the system, counterculture-ish kind of generation. We also created most of the tech industry.
Yep. So a few things in what you all mentioned. And I'll try to summarize it in this way. I was taking some notes. And then I want to talk about just to give an example of what we're talking about. So if I understand exactly, and you guys can correct me as I say this, just to summarize what the three of you have spoken about. Authority creates compliance, right? That's what authority is. You're going to do it this way, and we're going to hold you accountable. Authenticity, on the other hand, creates connection. And that connection is what drives performance. Um, did I get that correct in our conversation?
I think
Yeah,
that's succinct.
I think you're right. And I also think you probably wrote that down before we started talking.
But
Ah,
I think
it,
also
Hold on a second. It
depends
doesn't come
also.
out.
Yeah.
I can't.
Because
There
you're
we go.
smart like that.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I'm
there you
writing.
go.
I'm
Okay.
writing. I'm writing. Um,
Also
and
depend on the people, I think, right? Because some people they need that authority. Some people won't move unless they're told to move. So I mean, a good manager needs to be able to bounce from both aspect, right? Because
yeah,
sometimes you got to tell people that's the only way they will move forward is for you by telling them exactly what they need to do.
and thank you for saying that, Juan, because that's my second point that I was going to make. So in some of the other conversations, especially when you were speaking, you talked about the snowflake and generation, and that we kind of need to be told sometimes that we have to move, like you just said. Well, one of the things that my leadership model Crave is based on is psychological safety, and the last few weeks I've been having a lot of conversations on this because I'm working on clarifying what I mean by psychological safety within my leadership model. So psychological safety for me it's not something what people think, which what people think is comfort, that you interpret as comfort, that we're not gonna have conflict. Well, I'm sorry to tell you. For me and in my leadership model, psychological safety is about security in engagement. And what do I mean about with that? Is that it's not the absence of tension. It's not the absence of conflict. To the contrary, it is going to allow that conflict to happen in a respectful manner. So I want people to understand that because I don't want people to think that we're talking about, oh, we're just gonna not tell you that you're doing something wrong. No, no, we're gonna do it because we need to. Because what happens when we're able to have those uncomfortable conversations is that if we don't have those uncomfortable conversations, we're suppressing the very cognitive processes that drive critical thinking, accountability. So psychological safety is not without without discomfort, or it's not without tension. It is, but it's just done in the proper manner where I'm not going to be throwing a plate at you or
Well,
or,
and
or
I think to your point, you're exactly right, without question. The problem is that not many people have the tools, experience, and training to manage that type of conflict the right way
yeah.
without taking it personal, without making it all about them instead of, hey, this is a learning opportunity. And we've all heard it in evaluations.
Sure.
If I didn't appreciate you, if I didn't want to see you grow, I wouldn't give you this hard information. And most of the time that's probably true. Some of the time it's just a backhanded comment because they're
Mhm.
an asshole. But either way. But yeah, what you're saying right there is if we can provide people with the tools to manage conflict in a positive way, in a constructive way, it's amazing. The problem is even in our generation, I find people that struggle with that. And depending on my day and what's going on in my life, I sometimes struggle with it as
I
well.
was I was just gonna say the same thing. I struggle with it. I can give I can give great feedback. Sometimes when I get it and it's great, I don't want to hear it.
Well, I mean, you guys must be reading my notes because that's actually our next question is what makes authenticity challenging for leaders? And how are, if you can give some examples of how we can overcome that. Um, and before we go into the question, I do want to say that what you're saying is it's absolutely correct, Tad. I mean, what we don't do good, as far as I'm going to talk about, we is owners and executives, is setting up leaders for success by not giving them the proper training. They need, as leaders need professional training. so they can have the tools in order to be successful and have those hard conversations the proper way.
Well, and I think to your point, in the healthcare setting, I'm sure it's like that in a lot of others, but we have a saying that we tend to eat our young.
Yep.
We'll promote people up to the Peter principle,
Yep.
but we won't give them any training. And then we wonder why somebody who was a good nurse is not necessarily a good manager. It's because those two skill sets do not equate. And unless you're going to give those tools and that training and that support, then you're setting someone up for failure. So,
All right. Well, let's move on to our next question here. We're running out of time. What makes authenticity challenging for leaders, and what helps overcome that? And if you guys can have some examples.
Well, so I think one of the number one things to make authenticity challenging for leaders is they don't want to come across as too vulnerable. They don't want to come across as weak,
Yeah.
and it's being a good leader is similar to being a good parent in that you don't want to give advice to your kids where they just tune out. They just go, oh, it's just old dad saying old stuff, talking about old things. Back in my day, this is the way we used to do it. You have to find a way to relate to them. One of my favorite things that I've seen, I think I shared it with two of you, Professor. I don't think I shared it with you. It came out a couple years ago. It was a guy who was hired to be a guest speaker at a graduation, and he is a linguist. He speaks like over 14 different languages. And what he did was he took the slang that kids are using today and he did his entire speech in common slang. And so
It was
um,
amazing.
it's great. It's just great, and immediately it made everybody in the crowd feel comfortable and it made them engage because hey, this guy's kind of on our level. He's an old head, using young slang. So it's finding a way that adapts to the language of your team and letting them know that you are trying to meet them on their level, expecting them to grow to your level. And we just talked about trainings. It's challenging to find the right training for everyone,
Yes.
right? Like some people react well to crucial conversations and some people don't. So it's the more authenticity to me is about one, being true to yourself, but also being true to how you react and interact with other people. So, the way I work with a lot of high school kids. Okay. Luckily for me, I got a kid who's also almost in high school, but I also like things that are pop culture. So if I can connect with them on something that's pop culture or something that's connecting in their age demographic, then and make a joke around it, then all of a sudden I've made them comfortable enough to receive the information that I'm giving with them. The other thing that my team knows is that I am nothing if not fair.
Yeah.
I am fair. I will treat everyone the same way and I will be truthful with them, right? If you're messing up, I will tell you that you're messing up and I will help you find a way to not mess up anymore. And I don't expect you to share with me anything that you don't want to, but if there's something that is a barrier for you to do the right thing, then I need to know what it is, whether it's inside the building or outside of the building, right? And if you don't want to share it with me, I'm going to assume that it's something inside the building, or it is just your unwillingness to do the right thing. And if it's your unwillingness to do the right thing, then we're going to continue to have the same conversations until you either improve or you don't work with me anymore. But being an authentic leader, you don't want to be too vulnerable, but you want to find examples of how you can relate to them. To add to your comment about a nurse being a manager, right? Like I don't know anything about nursing. I don't know anything about it except for that their job is super hard. right? So if I can find a way to interact with a nurse, I have care staff that serves some of the meals in the buildings that I'm in, right? They've got a job that's way more challenging, not necessarily way more challenging, but it's a different job than what I am asking them to do, put food on a plate, right? And I can't expect somebody that has to go change diapers and pass out meds and clean up drool and make sure someone gets showered and all the complexities of their job. I can't expect them to then take the same amount of care when they're plating up a plate because that's not really what their skill set is or their job is. So if I can make plating the plate fun, or I can bake them a batch of cookies to then, make the connection with them and
Mhm.
say, hey, you know what? I'm giving a little, can you give a little?
Yep.
I'm meeting you here, can you meet me there? All of a sudden, then the bridges get built and the doors get open.
There you go.
I think to one of your point earlier is, some of these old leaders, right, need training, right? A lot of them, and I spoke about night court managers, right? They get promoted because they were there, not because they had the skill. But now they're there, and we're kind of stuck with them. So, and a lot of these leaders, they're oh, we're not getting proper training. We don't have to, but none of them are going out on your own. I mean, don't wait for somebody to give you the skill set that's going to make you successful. Right. And hopefully, the reason why we do this is, this is free. It's there for you guys to pick up some of the skill set that we're sharing so you can become that great leader that could take you to the next level, take into the future to guide those young minds that are coming up. Because there's a lot of bright young minds coming up that need some guidance. And some of these leaders need to, and to your point, Tanner, and I'll give you an example. Bishop Joseph is the Bishop of New York, one of the youngest bishop ever. Underneath the gown, he's wearing Jordans. He connects
Yeah,
so well with the young kids. It's amazing. And he connects and he attracts all these young people because he could talk in their language. Right? If you see him walking on the street, he's wearing his Jordans. All right, but he's the Bishop of New York. But but he's a guy that you can talk to, you can relate to, and talk about current things. And you need to be able to have that flexibility and adjust to be able to reach that other generation, the next generation that's coming up.
absolutely.
Yeah, that relatability is impressive. I don't know that I can add much to that. I mean, the challenge with being authentic is truly the challenge of being vulnerable. It's admitting on many different levels that you don't know what you might supposed to know, and it's time to ask for help. But it's also courageous because you have to realize that and then simply ask for that help, whether it's from your boss, from your colleague, from another professional you know, and then you need to be that lifelong learner. You can't just say it and then say, what are you going to give me to learn next? You got to go out and pursue that knowledge and improve yourself all the time. I think I've said it before that I'm not the leader today that I was even a year ago. It's because
Right,
I'm learning things all the time. I'm making
right.
mistakes and I'm growing from what I've learned. And I think everybody is until they're not. And
And you're better because you know me now. So it's all common.
Yeah.
I am so much better now knowing you, Professor.
Well, and Simon Sinek touches on that in his conversation about imposter syndrome versus growth mindset.
Yeah,
Imposter syndrome says, it's only a matter of time till I'm found out. And growth mindset says, I may not know now, but I will.
yeah,
And to both your points, what are you doing? What are you doing to go out there and grow yourself? Because if you sit around and wait for somebody else to do it for you, it's never going to get done,
What will happen?
right? Yeah, your job will provide you some training. Hopefully, right? Your job is providing some sort of leadership training, some sort of crucial conversations type of training, some sort of HR training, some sort of financial acumen training. Hopefully, they're providing some sort of training. Some of it's going to resonate with you, and some of it's not. It's on you to go out and find the training that works for you to make you not just a better leader, but a better person.
Yep.
The whole world benefits from you being your most authentic self. Everything around you changes when you're your most authentic self. Everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. What helps is recognizing that the authenticity and professionalism, like you said, Tanner, they strengthen each other. They're not
Yeah.
separate. They're not at all. And when us as leaders, we make clear that our values, what our values are, and lead with them, walk
Yep.
that talk. If we can do that, that'll help with the authenticity piece. And then people can relate to you.
Yeah.
Versus, the opposite where people can't find any common ground. So it's always going to be challenging for you to lead people if you can't find that common ground.
Well, and let's
Yep.
be honest, if it were easy, everybody would do it.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and we all have probably had more bad examples of leadership than we've had good, unfortunately. So you need to understand that what you didn't like is what you need to ensure you don't represent to the people that you're leading.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Tad, authenticity goes both ways. You can
Yep.
be authentically a wonderful, loving, great person, or you can be authentically a jerk. And some of the greatest lessons I've ever learned in my life came from people who were authentically bad people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and unapologetic about it. They knew they were like that. They was authentically who they were. And
Yep.
it solidified in me of who I did not want to be. But I
I
use
learned how to,
examples. Yeah, I use examples of them regularly.
Yep.
I had a manager, great person. I will have drink with him anytime. I wouldn't want to work for him again.
Yep.
Authenticity grows through intention,
Yes.
Yep.
good or bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good or bad. All right, let's wrap it up as we, it's getting a little bit late. Closing reflection time. Who wants to go first?
I'll go. So I think that when it comes to what we're talking about today is the courage to be human in the role of leadership. It's not the physical type of courage that one might think. It's a mental type of courage, similar to what Dr. Amin was talking about earlier. And it's knowing yourself and understanding that you're not perfect, but realizing you don't have to be. And what I tell some of my people sometimes say, listen, I'm not asking you to walk on water. I'm just asking you not to drown when you try. And if you have that permission to go out and try to be your best, but fail, that's okay because you tried. And as long as you're learning, then we can move forward. And the courageousness about leadership and being authentic and vulnerable is it's scary. And especially if you're younger and you work with people that have way more experience than you, but they will respect you more if you simply ask questions. Use the knowledge and experience that they're bringing to the table because it was certainly hard won, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I encourage especially my young people that are very sharp. I don't know everything, and I like them to take risk. I like them uh to make decision on their own. And I would tell them, don't worry about the decision that you make because if it's not the right one, regardless, I will always back you up. I will always be there for you. And if it's wrong, then together we could correct it. But one thing is guaranteed that I would never be in a meeting and I'm going to call you out in front of people saying that, oh, this is wrong, right? That's a private conversation between you and I, right? Because I gave you I empower you to make the decision. So I need to stand by your decision. Now, if we need to adjust it, we could do it together and then come to a better solution, but not in front of other people, because then if I do that, then that's it. I lost him. He will never make another decision again, right? He needs to be able to grow. And like I say, they're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. There's none of us here that has never made a mistake, right? We're not perfect, like Todd said. Yeah, so we have to try trial and error, right? We need to find that balance. Where's the balance? We're not asking managers to walk around with a t-shirt and wiping out tears, right? But we need to have some, we need to be, we have to be careful, especially with this new with new snowflakes, right? Like the thing said, we need to bring it down, right? Need to bring it down a little bit, right? We need to bring it down 20%, bring it down, get to that 80%, right? Because we come from an environment where it was, hard knocks, right? And I was said so, but we do have a lot of values, and we have gone through so much. All of us have grown so much in this industry now. Different industry that we're all working together. So, opening up a little bit, it's not a bad thing, right? Because we need to let some people in. And there's some bright people that we need to let in so they could carry the torch forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say so much good stuff out of this podcast. Seek to understand who you are. Seek
Yeah.
the knowledge of who you are authentically. Change the things about yourself that you don't like and recognize that it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time and intention. The more you show up as your positive, authentic self, the more everything around you benefits, the more everything around you grows and flourishes, the more everyone around you feels safer. And safe space is a good thing. No one's going to do it for you. But when you do it, when you make those small changes, when you try to understand who you are at your core and grow authentically from there as a leader, you're going to benefit everything around you. Your team is going to benefit and grow. They're going to feel safe and become more authentic, and it is going to create a much better environment for everyone involved, and it will translate over time to how they present when they're leading teams and how they teach the leaders that come after them. Doing the right thing will never be the wrong thing. Find
Ever,
your purpose in today.
ever, ever. All right. I have a unenviable task of following up with Tanner's reflection there. But I'll go back to the beginning and how we open. Leadership is evolving. It's no longer defined by how perfect we appear or how much control we think we have or we want to keep. It's defined by everything you all said, how real we are, how present we are in those moments. And I love what Tanner said at the beginning about I have it here. How do I find my purpose in today? How do I lead today? I can't worry about tomorrow. Let's worry about how we are leading today, this moment. Um, when we have the courage to be human as leaders, I've experienced it in so many facets. Not only in a leadership sense in an organization, but also in our communities, because we are seen as leaders. No matter how much we don't think we are. But something powerful happens. Trust grows, connections deepen, and it's just become who we are. So thank you for joining us today. We'll see you on the next one. Have a great one, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great night.
Bye.